the baby sent them away, leaving them with a stern warning to never return. He emphasized that all he needed were the king and the priest's head as a sacrifice. The king and priest felt deeply insulted by Amope's child's request for their heads as a sacrifice for peace. They refused to lay down their heads for the sacrifice, and so the calamities in the village continued. Young and old fell sick, and numerous deaths occurred in the village. No man or power could cure their diseases, neither did any other priest in the village had a remedy for the calamity. Meanwhile, Amope and her mysterious son continued living under the baobab tree in the forest, and they never lacked anything. Food and other supplies they needed were mysteriously delivered to them every night. Amope's spiritual lover continued to heighten his affection towards her and her baby. Often, Amope would dream of romantic family moments with her lover and her son, so much that she wished the night would never end. She grew deeply in love with her spiritual partner and almost forgot that she was a human on earth and not a spirit in the underworld. Amope's mother, on the other side, faced a lot of discrimination in the village. Villagers disassociated themselves from her and want nothing to do with the grandmother of a child who wants to turn the whole village into an empty land. Amope's mother remained lonely and swallowed up in the shame her daughter had brought upon her. She thought being a mother and a grandmother should confer blessings upon a woman, but unfortunately, her case was completely different. Every night she would cry herself to sleep. She wondered about the kind of fates Amope had brought upon her. More often, she wondered who had impregnated her daughter, and the craziest thought was how she had been coping inside the bush all alone with such a mysterious child. One night, she slept and had an unbelievable dream where she saw Amope and a man with a baby having a wonderful family time together. They were so happy and joyous while she stood afar off staring at them. When she woke up from her dream, she kept imagining what the dream represented. The death toll in the village kept increasing without a solution. One calm evening, when the sun was about going down, out of frustration, the youth leader called for an emergency meeting, and all the youth gathered together to deliberate on the frustrating issues of their village and the way forward. But one of the youths suggested they go to the palace and also to the priest's house and beg them to heed the baby's request. But Korede, being smart and thoughtful, opposed Bode's suggestion. Is there anyone amongst us here who would be willing to lay down his or her life if such a mysterious baby requested it? He asked. Unfortunately, none of them could affirm to dying in such a manner. Since none of us here is willing to die for the village, then how on earth do we expect the king, who is known to have authority over everything, and also the priest believed to be the mouthpiece of the gods, to surrender their heads for a mysterious child? Korede added.
But what exactly is the way forward now? What can we do? This is getting too much to bear. We can't just fold our hands and watch this baby empty the village.
Bode replied. After such deliberation and thought, they finally decided to go into the bush in search of the mysterious child. As expected, they found them under the baobab tree. In one accord, they all lay down on the floor, begging the child to restore peace back to their land. But to their wide amazement, the baby sent them away, leaving them with a stern warning to never return. He emphasized that all he needed were the king and the priest's head as a sacrifice. The villagers returned to the palace in fury to narrate their experience with the baby. They vented their anger to the king, saying that they could no longer open their eyes and watch their families die like chickens, pleading with the king to do something about the situation on ground. The king implored them to return back home, promising to provide a solution to the problems. The sicknesses and diseases continued until one fateful day, the calamity decided to strike the palace, claiming the lives of the king's first wife and 2 children whom he loved so dearly. When the news of their deaths reached the king's ear, he felt deeply sober and incapacitated. In the same way, the priest also lost his 2 children the same day. According to the priest, Amope's baby was said to have intentionally taken their lives just to send a warning to the king and the priest that he can kill them if he so much desire. But to proclaim his power, he wants the king and the priest to bow to his command by surrendering their heads unto him for a peaceful sacrifice. One fateful afternoon, while the second queen was at the palace reminiscing about all the calamities in the land, she thought about the tragic deaths of the first queen and her 2 sons. The thought sent a cold shiver down her spine, knowing fully well that she was no longer safe in the palace. Neither was anyone safe anywhere in the village. She summoned courage and approached the king. The king was about to take a nap when she walked into his chambers and knelt before him. "Long live my king. I understand the gravity of what we are facing in this village, and you indeed have the solution in your hands. The first queen and her 2 sons just died on the same day, and it's obvious that anyone can die in the palace tomorrow. Please, Okome, Oloworimi, do the needful to restore peace to this land. I don't want to die," she said, weeping. The king grew furious and snapped at her plea. "What? How dare you? Queen? Arrant nonsense. Oh, you don't want to die, but you want me dead. Do you expect me to lay down my royal head for an infant? An infant? Hell no," he exclaimed. "My father and forefathers never disgraced the royal seats and authority. Such shame and disgrace won't start from me. Please excuse me, I need some privacy," he said. He never expected such a request from his queen. The king, whom according to culture found it disrespectful to bow to anyone as a king, held his royal esteem so high, unwilling to change the narrative in his tenure. He was fully aware that history would play the narrative if he eventually succumbed to the mysterious child's request. According to the culture of their land, a king has dominion and authority over everyone. Hence, it's a taboo for any king to bow to anyone or any circumstance. He sent the queen away and decided to observe a personal quiet time to meditate. He kept dwelling his thoughts around the ugly circumstances in the land. He felt broken by the queen's hearty words and became desperate for a solution. While soaked up in his thoughts, he fell asleep and had a dream. In his dream that afternoon, he saw an old man like his grandfather dialoguing with him and recounting all the ordeals happening in the village. He consoled him about the death of his first wife and 2 children and showed him great compassion as he recounted all the numerous deaths in the village. While they dialogued for some time, the old man reminded him of his royal dominion and encouraged him to be brave, leaving him with an urgent assignment to carry out within the next 3 days. The king awoke from his dreams, sweating profusely with a sense of victory. He hurriedly sent for the priest and narrated the dream to him. Immediately, they set off on a journey to a faraway village. They journeyed all night and arrived at their destination the next morning. They got to Agbaton village, the village the old man had instructed him to go and search for a powerful man who would help him overcome. When they got to Agbaton, they inquired about Baba Awure, a renowned old man whom people sought from far and wide for a solution to any issue. He was full of wisdom and mysterious powers. Luckily, they were directed to Baba Awure's house and he received them calmly. While the king narrated his reasons for the visit, Baba Awure had compassion on him and promised to help him overcome the evil baby. Baba explained to them that the baby was a spirit child with a father. He said the boy was a powerful, high-ranking old man in the underworld realm, but he had just decided to come to the earth to experience human nature because they are often so cruel and power-drunk in the underworld. That is why he is exercising such power on earth, thinking he is in his underworld. To prepare them for their victory, Baba put them through some powerful rituals to fortify them. He made some powerful incisions on their body to help them overcome some attacks. As a way of proper fortification for the victory over the evil child, they stayed with Baba Awure for 3 days, going through a series of powerful rituals and fortification. On the last day of the rituals, while they were about to eat the concoction made for them, Baba sternly gave them 3 major rules of engagement that must not be broken if they must indeed overcome the baby. Baba went further to warn them sternly to observe the rules and not falter in any, because to falter is to lose, he warned. He said they must not look back when going home, no matter the circumstance. They must never greet anyone along the road, nor respond to any greetings. And thirdly, they must never branch anywhere till the work is completely done. Even if they arrive at the village at midnight, they must go straight to the baby and complete the rituals they've started. On the 3rd day, after the whole ritual processes were done, Baba bade them farewell, wishing them a successful operation as they set out to return to their village. Meanwhile, at Araromi village, the news of the absence of the king and priest spread around the village. Some of the villagers even proposed to burn down the palace and the priest's house, but they were stopped by some thoughtful villagers. They thought they had run away from the village so as to escape the baby's demand. Their absence began another phase of panic in the village as they became angry and bitter at their king. While on their way back to Araromi village, the king, priest, and the 2 guards that followed them set their feet on the journey. They kept walking and walking back into their village. The journey got so far, they were beginning to get weary and tired. It was a long journey as no one was allowed to talk to anyone until they fulfilled the demand of the rituals. They got to a bush path and suddenly they heard a loud scream behind. It was the voice of one of the case guard who had just been bitten by a big snake. The venom went straight to his brain that he screamed out so loud, calling for help. The rest could feel his pain and agony but tried so hard not to look back nor respond to his outcry. They were tempted to go back and help him, but they recalled the agony in their village and the cost of the instructions given by Baba, so they forged ahead with their journey. They kept going. They got tired and decided to sleep under a tree to continue the journey the next day. They were about sleeping when they heard a loud uproar. They hurriedly got up and took to their heels. They kept pushing and pushing until they were 2 villages ahead of their village. Then suddenly, the other guard screamed for help. He was attacked by swarms of bees, and the sting hurt so bad that he screamed out his life. But the priest and the king took to their heels to avoid the temptation of talking or looking back as against the instruction given. While the king and priest continued their journey, the next day, they entered Araromi village at night, while very few were still awake. When some of the villagers saw the king, they bowed and greeted, but he didn't respond. This immediately spread across the village that their king, who they thought had fled the village, had returned deaf and dumb with the priest. The king and priest continued their journey, now heading to the baobab tree to see the baby. They were already fagged out and almost at the verge of giving up. But the king kept hearing a voice like that of his first wife, encouraging him to stay strong and finish the race he had started. Unfortunately, while they were just a few trees away from the baobab, the priest encountered his share of the attack. He was attacked by some bush babies. and they began to fight him. While he kept making some incantations to fight them, he whistled a signal to the king, urging the king to go straight, notifying him that he is just a few walks away from the baobab tree. The king took to his heel that night and finally arrived at the tree at midnight. There he found Amope and a mysterious baby sleeping. Amope was in the dreamland having her usual dream with a romantic lover when she suddenly heard a giant footstep approaching. It was like the sound of 1,000 foot soldiers. She woke up only to the sight of the king. Before she could say a word, the king boldly made loud incantations upon the baby as instructed by Baba. As he continued with the incantations, it was as if some powerful forces were speaking through the king's mouth. He began to gain more stamina in his utterances, and so the baby woke up from his sleep and started laughing wickedly. The king continued his incantation, hoping for a notable result, but the baby kept laughing non-stop. The king was at the verge of giving up as he couldn't see any result. "Alas, this is my end. This baby will make a mockery of me," he said. Luckily, he didn't give up. A kind of power surged through him, and he suddenly became violent in his incantations. Out of the blues, the evil child became silent and disappeared.
Yes, victory! It's a sign of victory!
The king rejoiced. Amope was left alone under the tree, brooding over her loss and her life, meditating over what to do, either to stay back under the tree or return to the village. She was skeptical. She didn't know if she would be accepted back in the village, and now for once, she thought of her dear mother. She imagined the pain she had made her go through, but again, she will miss her son. With great excitement, the king made his way back into the village. There he met the priest on his way. He had just finished battling with some forces. The king narrated his victorious experience to him, and so they both returned to the village. Getting to the village, they felt an aura of peace and serenity. Immediately, they knew their peace has been restored. As they walked in the center of the village, villagers came, falling on their knees to greet them, and with joyful songs accompanied with sonorous voices and drums, they all rejoiced to the palace, jubilating over their freedom. With the baby's defeat, peace returned to Araromi village. The villagers rejoiced, grateful that their reign of terror was finally over. The king and the priest, hailed as heroes, were celebrated for their bravery and determination. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Araromi village flourished once again. The scars of the past began to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of unity and strength. The king, guided by the lessons he had learned, ruled with compassion and wisdom, ensuring that such a tragedy would never befall his village again. And so, life in Araromi village returned to normalcy, but the memory of the evil baby and the courage it took to defeat him would forever be etched in their hearts and minds, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. One of the profound moral lessons in this story is the triumph of good over evil. The defeat of the evil baby by the king and the priest with the help of Baba Awure illustrates the age-old theme of good triumphing over evil. Despite facing seemingly insurmountable odds, their determination, courage, and faith in a higher power ultimately led to victory. This serves as a reminder that no matter how bleak the situation may seem, good will always prevail in the end. So guys, that's the end of the story. If you are new here or if you've been watching and yet to subscribe, don't forget to smash that subscribe button because we have a lot of interesting stories coming your way. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.